Morning, Deirdre.
Good morning, Tom. Or maybe I should say nighttime at the Olympics. It looks like you're
Yes,
hanging out with the skiers over there.
yes. So where is this, and what is the spire we're looking at?
Well, I'm going to guess, since it's a fairly big place, that it's Cortina.
It is.
Cortina di Ampezzo, is that what they call it?
It's the
And
bell tower, the bell
yeah,
tower of Cortina d'Ampezzo.
right.
Very nice.
Very
I don't know
nice.
how you
Yes.
do this, Deirdre. I just do not know. I would kind of guess maybe that's the Olympics, just by the nature of it. But
Oh, absolutely my guess. And I think the Italians are doing a great job with the Olympics.
oh, it's incredible. It's
Yes,
incredible. This is a playlist we're calling Am I Falling Behind with AI, right?
correct.
And you and I are doing this. We're creating this as a topic of high level people that
Mhm.
need to be asking themselves this question. And we do all the time. Are
Right,
we falling behind in our
right,
knowledge of this? It's moving so quickly. And we're
right,
doing that because you and I are firmly convinced, as are many, that this is a generational leverage point for people and for
correct.
business specifically. And we think we're moving into soon those who get it, those who don't, or those who have knowledge of it or don't, the haves or the have nots. And so, with that, I'll let you give it a little bit of an introduction to this playlist.
Okay, first I want to make it clear to our viewers that when you're talking about a generational difference maker, you're not talking about, well, the young people get it and the older people don't. It's nothing like that. In fact, you and I have found, haven't we, Tom, that there are people in their 80s that we both know who are right at the cutting edge of all
Yes.
of this new AI work, and then people in their 20s who just mess around with things and don't do the purposeful work that we're talking about. But what we're trying to accomplish in this video is to capture all of the videos that we've been creating and put them before you again, because we're making a lot of points. We're doing a lot of teaching in our videos, and we want to make sure that you, our listeners and viewers, uh, keep aware of what we've filmed in the past and how it can help you going forward. A number of people have told me they've gone back and watched videos a second time, and we encourage people to do so again. The reason for this little interlude in the 72 series is that you and I, Tom, get a lot of questions from people about, am I falling behind here? I might use ChatGPT or something like that. So I don't know what I should be doing. Well, that's what you and I have been doing. We did it in our 60s series, we did it in our 70 and 71 series, and we're doing it at a higher level in our 72 series. That yes, there are many ways that the average business user is actually using AI. Some of people are using it as embedded in other products. Microsoft is embedding its Copilot AI in its whole Microsoft suite, so everyone has access to that. Google is embedding Gemini in its search tools. We're almost more talking about the higher capabilities, the more freestanding tools. And we've been focusing on the tools that we consider most appropriate for enterprises. ChatGPT has been shown, or I should rather say that commentators talk about it more in terms of growing a general audience as opposed to business users. Business users are using the models that you and I are using to accomplish higher level work. We're not just searching, we're not just synthesizing documents, we're solving problems, we're addressing issues. And we've been showing that it's actually a combination of the models that creates the best outcome for you. We've been focusing perhaps on Claude and Grok because those might be the ones we use most, but there are others that we use as well, Perplexity and so forth. And it's any combination of these models that works for you very well. What we do see happening in the workplace is there's starting to be a divide between, well, no other way to put it, Tom, but the haves and the have-nots. The haves are the people who, and I hate this phrase, but it's appropriate, get it. They understand that there are these more advanced uses of these AI models like Claude, like Grok, like Perplexity, that can actually help and change the substance of work in the way that you and I have been demoing it. And then the people who don't get it are the people who, they may feel as if they want to use it, they don't know how. Well, we're teaching you. And that's partly why we're going back and revisiting some of our videos. Or people may be on the defensive. It's sort of like, well, I keep getting questions about my board. I'm supposed to do something. I don't know what to do. Well, we're teaching you what to do. Or an awful lot of people we encounter, Tom, are just simply afraid.
Yeah.
They don't know the technologies. They hear wild things about what these models do. They're afraid that they'll get fired if something bad happens. Well, that's also what we're trying to do with some of the videos we've been filming over the past. It's almost 6 months now, Tom, giving demos of these and showing what they can do. So that's a broad introduction to this that we're trying to address what you, as a listener, as a viewer, may be feeling about moving into the use of these AI models and suggesting how we can help. Now, I've been talking for a while, Tom, so let me turn it back over to you.
So you could easily say, look, I use this stuff today, and I'm doing fine. I use ChatGPT or I use Gemini or even Copilot. Um, and I'm getting done what I want to get done. I've got people who in my team that are using it for personal productivity to write things for them and do simple tasks. We have another group that are doing automations. Some of the programming stuff is being highly automated, and there's a whole issue about whether programming is really going to become a task, a profession anymore, because it's going to be more about architecting and
Mhm.
so forth. And then there is a group of people that are working on robotics, and I understand all that, and I understand how that leads ultimately even to spaceships landing and cars driving for you. Uh, what more do I need to know? And that could be a very powerful argument. We also hear that from the more sophisticated
Yes,
users
I
of this
do.
technology.
Right.
And what we would say is there are two things that we think you can get out of a more sophisticated use of AI, or doing what you and I talk about being more complex work at the very highest levels,
Mhm.
CEOs, board directors, and even the high level C people of an
Right.
organization, or however you've constructed your business or your organization. And that is one is what you and I call deep research. It's where you take a structured approach to doing research that you've never been able really to do well or easily
Mhm.
yourself, or it's tedious. It takes a lot
Right.
of time, and you're beyond that. You did it when you were in high school, college, graduate school, whatever. You don't want
Right.
to do it anymore. Or maybe that was part of your first job in a business where you were in McKinsey, and you don't want to do any of that stuff anymore. You can now do it yourself. And it can actually be, in some ways, a challenge and fun. And we're talking, you could do it when you're a board chair, and probably should be doing it. And we can show you a very simple approach to doing it. It's not learning to program anything. It's learning to think about a structure of using these. What are the characteristics of these models, and how can you best do deep research with them? We have something called a five-step process we take you through. And we have a video on that you'll find in this, and it's actually called the Human Machine Partnership. It's how does the human work with the machine to attain some kind of result. And Deirdre, this is a topic that you're very focused on, and you're laughing because
I
I
do
keep
keep
saying it to
mentioning
you in
it,
different
don't I?
ways. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
sorry about that. But
Yeah.
but we're joking about this between us because it is a critical aspect of dealing with these models. And we have a whole podcast on this called the Human Machine Partnership, where we show you these five steps that show you how it's best that you interact with machine and you stay ahead of the machine.
Right.
And then you can actually go to another step, and this is how can you do this effectively the way Deirdre suggested, where you decide to use two different models to help you. And we show
Mhm.
you how you can do deep research with one and then do a compare and contrast of that research with another. And we have another podcast called Is Grok Better? And
Right.
this is where we do Grok versus Claude, and it's hilarious on a
Right.
piece of deep research. Hilarious meaning both give you good answers, they're just different. And
And there's a fair amount of attitude in this as
yes, I
well.
would say yes. Yes, there is. That even shows up in another one of our podcasts
Right.
that's called the CEO board chair gap. And
Mhm.
this is where we talk about the an aspect of AI that is the second characteristic we think is really important for high level people to see.
Right.
And this is what you and I call, treating it as a decision layer.
Right.
So in one case, you're treating it this way, it goes deep. Um, in this one, we're talking about it going this way, going across instead of just deep.
Right.
And these is where in one of our podcasts, we actually go through and show you how you can take and use it to help you make decisions, all the way from recommending a decision that you could really literally automate versus, and that's called agentic use of AI. And you've heard this. This is the where you create AI agents, all the way through where it's a support of the human making the decision,
Right.
and all the variations in between the hybrids and so forth. And we have a series of these, and this is called the human versus AI in decision making.
Right.
So you'll find these, and I've just given you, a few of the videos that you'll see in this playlist that go through the topics. But if you and I were going to say there are two characteristics, I guess two abilities of AI that it's critical at the highest level to see, capabilities,
Right.
is one, the ability to do deep structured research and the compare and contrast idea. And then
Right.
there is this idea of using it to manipulate in an effective way um, information and data in a very flexible way to be able to support decision making. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to you, Deirdre.
Underlying everything you've just been saying, Tom, is the need to understand that your job will be different. Your company will operate differently. Your relationships with your various people, whether above you or below you in the company, will be different. We keep proposing that CEOs, that leaders themselves, must be using these tools for a couple of reasons. One, they need to know what's happening in their companies. Heaven knows what's happening in most companies with people at various levels using various tools to accomplish what work. And frankly, most leaders don't understand that this is happening. But a more important factor is that you, as the leader, have the most knowledge and judgment about your company, or should have the most knowledge and judgment. And these tools work best where you, as the human, bring your knowledge, your judgment, everything you know about the marketplace, about competitors, to the information that is being surfaced by the machine, and together you create something better. If you simply delegate this work to, say, a mid-level manager, that person will not have the knowledge and judgment, and you'll sub-optimize and you lose your reason for using these tools in a great many ways. This is why you and I, Tom, keep talking about, one, how the substance of work is changing, and two, about how the whole organization is going to be changing. Not that you have to change it, but given the whole business world these days, the organization is going to be changing. And it's best for you to be out in front of this and developing the capabilities so you can keep your own organization successful and profitable going into the future. And that's what we cover in our various videos that we go into all of these points. Not only how do you use, but how do you create the culture? How do you change the substance of work? How do your interactions with your various people change when you use these tools? It's not simply downloading another version of Word, it's downloading a whole new world in terms of the way of doing business. So,
And you'll see us soon turning to a subject that you and I talk about a lot recently, Deirdre, is this difference among these models and why certain of them are better used for certain other purposes. So we'll do another, you'll see that in our topics coming up, and various other topics that are relevant to the moment that cut through the series that we do, which is a company problem, and how do you go deep on that company problem. So, with that, please use our stuff, use this playlist. We'll have others that will curate for you around these major, major topics. But this one is about, are you falling behind? Are you staying current? Are you staying vital? Um, if you would like personal help from us, we're glad to help. Just ask. Otherwise, please use the resources we have here. And we're delighted to do this for you because not only is it challenging and fascinating, but it's fun.
it's a lot of fun, Tom, and I'll simply say that going forward, we'll be creating more of these playlists, including ones addressing the question I hear most frequently, which is, so what do I do?
Yeah,
How do I transform my organization? How do I change the substance of work? We'll have playlists on that for you.
we will. We will. I heard somebody say the other day, and we joke about this, where somebody said, "Well, you have to practice." There was an article that said in one of the major pieces of press that said you have to practice just like an hour. I'm talking badly, using bad words here, sorry. That you have to practice with this, not use it, but practice with it an hour a day. Otherwise, you're going to fall behind. And you and I are going, so is this back to my days of practicing the piano when I was eight
Right.
years old, right? I mean,
Right.
just there's a way that you can do that. You don't need to be telling CEOs this, right? That's not going to work. We build these for you all that are building businesses essentially for the business builders
Right.
at the highest levels. So you don't have to go practice the piano for an hour a day.
Correct.
It's always a pleasure, Deirdre.
Always a pleasure, Tom, and enjoy the Olympics.
Thank you.